What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and it's about time. It was. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what this game was not. It was not perfect. It was not pretty, but what it was. First of all, it was a win. Obviously, yeah, just right off the top of my head. But it was convincing. I think that's what they've been lacking recently. They've lacked that convincing look. Like, we actually know what we're doing. We actually are able to play this game. They've lacked that for the past few games now, and it's been kind of disappointing. Part of that is because Hull is not really a tough team to beat. They are not nearly the quality of Liverpool or Arsenal, obviously, but they lack depth in a lot of positions, and so where we're able to bring on players, which we didn't even have to. We ended up just wearing them out with our starting 11, but they didn't have the quality to bring on to replace the tired legs, which we have a bit more fitness than they do. So it all sort of worked out for us, but mostly I think what really helped was there was a bit of a tactical adjustment, and then also I feel like there are some players that stepped up today that hadn't really been playing to their potential. So let's talk about it. First of all, let's talk about the starting 11. It wasn't bad. I actually, looking at most of it, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Because, I don't mind seeing a bit of change. I don't mind seeing him try to change it up a little bit, try something a bit different. And, going with the back three with Alonso and Moses at wing backs, not a bad option. Moses did fairly well getting back and defending, and he's got enough speed to get up and down the line as well as the fitness to do it. So I don't mind seeing that given a shot. Conte and Matic in the midfield, okay. I would rather see Fabregas in there to provide a bit more going forward, but they do provide some defensive stability, even though Matic at times can be a little bit, like, not defensively, but with the ball. There are moments whenever he holds onto it a bit too long, or he has a wayward pass that all of a sudden he gives it away, and now we're on the back foot again. So I feel like Fabregas right now is a better option than Matic alongside Conte. But then again, Conte really had the ability to get forward today and create a lot more up there, which I didn't really think he was one of those players, but today he showed he can do it sometimes. Not as cleverly as, say, Hazard or Willian do, but he can get up there if he needs to. So I think having Matic alongside him provided that. So if it were Conte and Fabregas, I feel like Conte would probably hold back a little bit, and Fabregas would be holding back as well, but sending the balls forward to Costa, Hazard, and Willian. And I think that was another big change too, is having the wing backs means that Hazard and Willian are not out wide anymore. They are now a bit more tucked in. It's almost like we're playing with three strikers. You got Costa, the middleman, and you got Hazard and Willian sort of crossing back and forth and behind him. And it worked out well. We looked more dangerous. Even though we didn't really get a shot off the first half, a lot of our breaks were really dangerous. It was just that final ball, that one pass that was it was a few feet off. And as soon as we cleaned that up in the second half, we started getting shots off. We got 2 goals. It was so much easier. It's the defense where I have the biggest problem, because I don't mind seeing Spilicueta back there with the back three, because I feel like he can do that. He can fill that position. I just, maybe have him train there a bit more so he's not so... He tends to kind of pull out wide a bit more, because that's where he's used to playing. So if you are going to play him there, make sure that he does stay inside, because he did get caught out a couple times. David Luiz, he's fine for now. He still lacks a lot defensively, but getting forward, he provides great long balls. He does have enough speed to cover for whenever he does make a mistake, so it's not like he dives in and then all of a sudden he's beat for good. He does have the ability to get back around, or he actually trips the guy up, so it's like, okay, he got beat, but he's not beat in behind. It's a foul right there. The biggest problem for me is Cahill still playing. And I talked about it with my dad last night. We both said the same thing. Cahill should not start today. There's no reason for him to. You've got Ivanovic who can play center mid or center D. You've got several other options that you could try Matic back there. You could try Chalova back there. you got so many things you could do to fill that role. And I mean, the biggest one would be putting Ivanovic there, because even though he hasn't looked good this season, defensively he hasn't been making stupid mistakes. The biggest problem he's had is that he's not able to do what the fullback should do by now. You know, like getting up, getting back. He doesn't have the physical ability to do that anymore because he's lost that. So that's my biggest problem with him, is just when he gets up, he doesn't really help in the attack, and sometimes he doesn't track back. If he was a center back, he wouldn't have to. He'd just be back there defensively, and he's done okay defensively this year. Whereas Cahill has given the game away for 3 games now. You know, Swansea game gave away the game, ended up at the tie, luckily. Liverpool gave away an early goal. That led to Liverpool's, just domination in the first half. Against Arsenal, same thing. Gave away an early goal, led to Arsenal's domination in the first half. So it's like, there's no reason he should be playing today. It's one of the things I've been reading recently about Conte is that he wants to cut out this player power thing that they've got going on, which led to Mourinho being sacked last year. And yeah, I agree. I think the players have way too much power right now. I think you're being paid to play for this club. If you go to any other job and your manager did something at this job, if it's a desk job, your manager does something that you don't like, if you just sat at your desk every day and didn't do a thing, you'd be fired. The boss would come down and be like, you're not doing anything, get your stuff, get out. And be like, well, the manager pissed me off, he's doing this and this and this wrong. It doesn't matter, you're not doing your job, get out. That's, as a player, you shouldn't be not playing because the manager's done something to upset you and you're not getting along with him. So, I completely agree with Conte. That needs to stop. It needs to end perfect. I want to see that. But whenever you've got a player like Cahill, who for the last 3 Premier League games has given away a goal, it's not even like he made a bad challenge or he dove in. No, he gave away a goal 3 games in a row. One of them was a tie, 2 of them were losses. He should not be playing anymore. He should be sitting the bench or in reserves because he needs to be punished for that. Instead, he's now not only playing, he's our captain for this game. Mr. Give Away a Goal is our captain. Just let that sink in for a second. The same guy who gave away a goal in the past 3 games, for each of them, he's the captain. How does that make any logical sense whatsoever? Really think about that. You're playing horribly. Here, have the captain's armband. Great job out there. The other teams love you. Have the captain's armband. I don't understand it. And, there is a part of me that's like, okay, they probably have this list, so it's like, if Terry's not in, Ivanovic is the next captain. If Ivanovic and Terry are both not in, then Cahill's probably the next one on the list, and it's probably been that way. And to take that away from him based on his poor play, yeah, I understand that's not, then don't play him. Sit him on the bench. Put somebody else in there. Honestly, at this point, I kind of want to see Fabregas get the captain's armband because even though he hasn't been playing, he's been the one leading the line whenever we're pushing forward. He's the one leading the charge. He's the one that's like, I'm going to get this ball, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to find somebody up top so they can go get a goal. He's the one that's really leading the team on whenever he comes on the field. Cahill is not. I would not trust the leadership of the team to a guy who can't even keep track of his own actions on the field. That's ridiculous to me. So, it's a minor issue when you look at the fact that, yeah, we won, but it's a major issue because it's the mentality of it. The mentality of, oh, you make a mistake, you get to be captain. That should not happen. It should never happen. And if Cahill continues to start, if he continues to get the start when Terry gets back, I'm going to be really pissed because that should not be happening. That should not continue to be a thing. He should not continue to feature in the team. He should be on the bench, in the reserves if possible, because he's the worst defender we have right now. So, those are my thoughts on the starting 11. If I wanted to get into individual performances, starting from the back, Courtois today did well, had to make some crucial saves. And it's kind of funny because they're talking about in the game too, there was a stat that was released yesterday, and apparently of all the keepers in the Premier League, he's the one with the worst like shots on goal to goal differential. You know, there are like 9 goals on him for 17 shots. The thing about it is, yeah, he has given away some goals, but most of those shots on goal, you know, the ones that he's saved have been the normal shots. You know, like the shots from outside the box where the defense has done well, kept them out there. Nine. Okay, let's see. 9 goals. 3 of those have been one-on-ones because Cahill gave the ball away. One of them was Jordan Henderson's like incredible shot from outside the box. 2 of those were Arsenal goals. Yeah, those were, yeah, they were okay. I feel like he could have done better on the Ozil goal, the third one, but you know, I'm thinking back to most of these goals, and some of them aren't his fault. It's like it was poor defending that led to pretty much a wide open goal, and unless he's like perfect in that moment, which not all keepers are, he saves half of them. The other half he doesn't save. You know, like you can't keep giving away shots like that on goal because yeah, he's not going to make most of those saves. So I wish they hadn't released. If they were going to release that stat, kind of make it a bit more realistic. So it's like talk about what type of goals they were. You know, because giving away 9 goals sounds bad, but when you realize that 3 of those were the defense not doing, like Cahill gave away 2, 3, something like that, it really makes it sound a lot worse if you're just like, oh yeah, he gave away 9 goals, and you don't really talk about what happened that led to the 9 goals. Because I mean, he's doing. This game showed there were a couple. I mean, the Snodgrass free kick, brilliant save. It showed what he can do. You know, he's able to make the save. He's got the height. He's got the ability to. It's just you put him in a one-on-one situation. Yeah, they're going to get a goal most of the time. Most strikers are going to be able to do that. So, anyway, just a little rant I wanted to go off on. But yeah, Courtois did well today. Espilicueta, like I said, got pulled out a little bit too much. But part of that is because he's used to being a fullback. He's not used to being one of 3 center backs. So, may work on that a little bit. David Luiz didn't do anything too crazy. You know, like there were a couple times where he went flying into a challenge when you just need to stand him up. But that's typical David Luiz. You know, he's always done that since I first started watching him. He's always been a player that just, oh, there's the ball with a player. I'm gonna go get that ball, and then goes flying past him as they just turn him or something like that. So, but going forward, he does well, and that's I think one place where when you bring Terry back, Terry brings the organization to the defense. He brings the calmness of the defense. David Luiz can provide that going forward from the defense. You're starting the attack from the back. So I hope to see a bit more of that from him. Cahill, I already talked about him. Awful today defensively. Got caught out so many times. He's actually kind of doing the same thing David Luiz is. You know, just flying out into challenges when you should just be holding back and letting them come to you. But he's just like, I'm gonna go get the ball, and then now he's beat. You know, Marcus Alonso now has to run back and help him out. So, speaking of Alonso, did well today. He was more of an attacking wingback than he was defensive because Hull didn't really get a whole lot going down after the first like 15 minutes. So I thought he did well, but I say that based on today's game, which I don't know how he would compare in some other games where they're really getting forward, they're really attacking. If he had to stay back and defend a lot more, you know, I don't know how he'd do then, because defensively, there were times when you can tell he's a bit shaky. So we'll see if that improves at all. Moses, I thought, did well. You know, took a really good chance at his first start this season and created a lot of good chances, had a lot of good runs. Maybe should have had a penalty at one point. So it's good to see that he's wanting to stake his place in the first team. He's wanting to keep that first team role. That's good to see that he's willing to fight for it. You know, he's willing to actually try hard to get to it. Whereas some of these players are just like, oh, whatever, you know, first team. You want to see them work harder. You want to see them work hard all the time. And Moses is one of those players that works hard all the time whenever he's on the field. So, good to see. Conte and Matic in the midfield, I thought Conte looked one of the best games of the season so far. Really, mainly because he got forward a lot more. He was really pushing into the attack. So instead of being kind of the understated, oh, I'm going to win this in the midfield type player, he was winning it and then getting forward into the attack and passing around with the players up there. It was very bizarre to see, but at the same time, it was really good. He did really well today. So I'm curious to see if that's what Antonio Conte is trying to get him to do. He's trying to get him to push forward a bit more and help out. If that's the case, I'll be interested to see if it continues to work out. Still not the best shot on him, but he does move the ball around fairly well. So Matic still having an average game. He's definitely not the player of 2 seasons ago. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he can get that back. But you can see the desire is there, the desire to win the ball, the desire to be on the ball. I mean, for Costa's goal, he had a brilliant run that just took all the defense this way. He has his shot, bounces off to Costa, who just has all the time in the world to find the far corner. So he does some good stuff here and there, but it's just the overall performance from him. You can pick out the good stuff, and then you can also pick out the bad stuff. So for every good thing, I'm like, but then there was this moment where it was a wayward pass and gave away possession and didn't really work hard enough to get back. So the jury's still out on Matic. I still don't know whether or not we can really trust him to be in there. I would still rather have Fabregas in at this point. So that's my opinion on him. Hazard and Willian both did well today, and I feel like I said earlier, I feel like a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were farther inside today. Against Arsenal, they were told to keep wide, I'm pretty sure, because that's where they were the whole time. So the ball goes up to Costa. We have 3 midfielders who are all sitting back and holding positions, and then Hazard and Willian are out wide. It felt like they were just so limited to what they could do out there. When they brought inside, though, today, they're crossing each other, they're moving the ball quickly in and out. It looks so much better today because of them being able to do what they do. Between the two, though, I would say Willian probably had a slightly better game just because I feel like Hazard was really quiet in the first half. Second half, he started to break out. He really started to make some great runs, started to move the ball around a lot better. But the first half, he was really... I don't know if it was just because he was still getting going or what's going on with him in the first half, but he didn't really do as much as he can do. Whereas Willian, for most of the game, even though he did make some mistakes, the mistakes are coming off of he's trying to do something with the ball. He's trying to do something clever, trying to make a good pass, and then a mistake happens. And you're just like, well, at least he's trying, So that would be my only complaint about Hazard, is that I feel like in the first half he should have tried to do a bit more. He should have tried to be a bit more clever. Because in the second half, when he started to be clever, that's when we started to really just really put a lot of pressure. And that led to Hull's defense tiring out, which led to the 2 goals. So it was overall much better from both of them, though. And then Costa, what can I say about Costa? It's Costa. At times I get frustrated with him because it feels like, dude, what are you doing? Stop trying to dribble so much. Try to move, and then next second, he's moving the ball around quickly. He's bullying off defenders. He's just like, give me the ball, it's mine, and then gets a goal today. And I'm just like, okay, Costa's Costa. It's what he's gonna do. It's really hard. I mean, it's really, really hard for me to truly grasp what type of game I'm gonna see from Costa. Like, am I going to see where he just dominates the back line the whole time, or am I going to see the game where he's getting upset and then at the end of the game he dominates the back line and gets a goal? So it's been the nice thing about this season is that last season it was a tale of 2 Costas. It was in the first half of the season under Mourinho, he was frustrated, picking fights the whole time. It felt like he wasn't focused on the game. He was more focused on, I'm going to fight with this guy. And then when Hiddink came in and Mourinho left, you could see his attitude changed. It became a bit more, I'm going to go score some goals. This season, it's been a tale of 2 Costas, but one Costa is, I'm going to go score some goals today. And then the other one is, at times lackluster, but by the end of the game, he's back to, I'm going to score some goals today. So it's always been like, you see the, I'm going to score some goals today Costa. It's just a matter of how much of the lackluster, kind of lazy performance are we going to see from him that day. Today, not as much laziness as I would say in like I think the Liverpool game he was a bit lazy for a majority of it. Today I felt like he was actually working hard for a lot of it. Just these couple moments where it's just like, come on, Costa, step to that, put a good challenge in, don't give the ball away so cheaply. So those are on individual performances from starting 11. Subs came in late on, which I kind of understand because at that point we were already 2-0 up. Goals came fairly early. Well, not about halfway through the second half. Really, we were 2-0 up. So I understood he wanted to give them time to really get to play, build that confidence back up after the 2 losses. But the subs, while not terrible, I think could be better. Because the first sub is Oscar, in which I don't mind seeing, but it's for Hazard. It's like it felt like he was finally getting up to speed in the game at that point when he came off. Like I wanted to see him in the final 10 minutes. I wanted to see him really testing that back line, really challenging. And on top of that, he's in my fantasy squad, so I wanted him to get a goal too, but that's not part of the review. But I did want to see him really challenge the back line a bit more and possibly get himself a goal to get his confidence back too, because he hasn't looked confident the past couple losses. So I was a bit disappointed about who Oscar came on for, but I didn't mind seeing him come in. The next one, I don't understand Conte's love for him, but Pedro always gets a sub in, and it feels like you're just wasting a sub. Like, yeah, you want to get him game time, but no, you don't. Like that's the thing. On the one hand, I'm thinking, in his mind, he's thinking, oh, I need to get Pedro some game time. But in my mind, I'm thinking, why? He's not good enough. He is not good enough to be on the field. If one of our wings gets injured, I'm bringing in Moses. I'm bringing in somebody but Pedro. Pedro is my last option to bring on. It's like if Hazard, Willian, and Moses all get injured, okay, we'll play Pedro. I don't see him coming on as a backup. So to see him getting game time is just like, I feel like you could bring on somebody else. You could have brought on Chalobah a bit earlier. You could have brought on Batshuayi, let him get a chance to get a goal against his back line who's really tired right now. But no, we're going to waste this sub on Pedro. We need to sell him in January for sure. I hate the fact that we loaned out, players like Kennedy and Pizon, some of these young players that look like they're good wing players. I hate the fact that we're loaning them out and then Pedro's still here. It's like, why? And then the final one, Chalobah did get on for like a few minutes and actually had a really good through ball to Pedro, who obviously wasted the chance. But it's nice to see a young player like Chalobah getting in there and doing good stuff. It's not like he gets out there and it's just like, oh yeah, that kid got to play for a little. No, he's actually getting out there and he's doing something that makes me feel like he needs to be in the starting 11, possibly. No, not starting 11, but he does need to get some more game time. I feel like against teams like Hull, against teams like Burnley, against teams like Bournemouth, who are maybe lower in the table or maybe struggling with form, especially if you're already up by a good bit and come second half, give him some game time. Let him get in there. Let him show what he can do, because I want to see more of him. He looks a good player. He looked a good player in preseason. So those are my thoughts on performances overall. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. Obviously, both of the goals were really nice. Costa setting up Willian for the first one, who did really well. Nice little run on back inside and then cut it, found the far corner. Really well placed. And then Costa's, like I said, great run from Matic. Shot deflects off the defender right to Costa, who, just like Willian, finds that far right corner. And so it was a good overall game. It was a good performance. There are moments here and there where it's frustrating to watch because you can see the issues we're having. You can see the mistakes. And if Hull hadn't made so many mistakes, we wouldn't have been in this game. We would not have been it would have been probably Hull 1-0 if they didn't make so many mistakes in the first half. 15 minutes in, it looked like Hull were probably going to get a breakthrough because of a defensive mistake or something along those lines. And then after 15 minutes, we finally broke into the game. Players started figuring out what to do in their new positions. and now all of a sudden we're taking the game to Hull, and they don't really have a chance after that. So, yeah, it's a win. It's a good win, but at the same time, a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. But thankfully, international break next week, so we get some time to reflect on it and think about it and change some stuff. Hopefully Terry will be back by the next international, like the end of the international break. And I think Conte said that there's a good chance Zuma could be back after the international break is over. So we'll see what happens. We'll see who's available when we get back. But all I can say is if Cahill's starting the next game, I'm going to fly over to England. I'm going to take Antonio Conte. I'm going to sit him down in a chair, and I'm going to slap him in the face until he says Cahill will not be playing anymore. I wish. Anyway, those are my thoughts on today's game. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What would you like to see change for the next game? Stuff like that. All that good stuff. We'll talk about it and discuss it. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you at the next game. Peace out.